Pantheon Plus.
All right, so that's it for the green room, but we do have a little treat for everybody here. So that's the queue. For a little fun session here. So stick around. We're going to take some questions from the community. Me 1 second here. Yeah. So let's pull in Mr. Joppa Perkins. Chris, how are you, man? Thank you for stopping by with for the show today. You're muted, just so you are. There you are.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Joppa. That's awesome. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, so welcome.
Well, so first, I mean, can you just give us a little bit of vibe? I mean, you've been waiting to show this off for a while. So can we have sort of the proud papa feel? How do you feel about how this went off today?
Yeah, well, the very first thing I want to say is I just want to give a huge shout out to the team. There is just a massive amount of work that goes into building these games, and the smaller your team is, the more work that you do to move things along. And whenever we get to do these particular milestones like this, especially one like this that's so significant on so many levels, I can't really put into words how proud I am of what this team is accomplishing. The level of effort, the commitment, the passion, like it's like I said today, is something, the statement about these things have now become trivial. They've become, anytime you reach a certain point in development where the tools and the supporting systems you have make the work of creating things trivial, that's very significant. But it doesn't take away the fact that there's real people churning out the ideas, making the decisions, the calls on how to use those tools, and then getting all of the content lovingly crafted. It's an incredible thing to watch. So I just want to say that first. I want the team to hear from me on as many different platforms as possible, internally, externally. This is a team effort all the way, and the work and the passion is absolutely amazing. And yes, so proud, so excited with the way that everything came together. It's streaming these types of games is difficult to do in this sense. And one of the things that I told in our kind of pre-meeting with Co is just like, we're going to be there. We're going to be shadowing for the first part, but I want you to play this like you would play any other game. You're going to get in there. I want you to put it through its paces. Anything you think you want to do, just do it. Anything that seems logical to you to try to do, just do it. And less of us gumming it up with developer speak and, hey, did you notice that? And hey, and I thought, and the goal in creating this, putting all this together was this needs to be like a real gameplay session where someone can get in and just, without a lot of developer intervention. That's one of the big things with the evaluator build, is we want to be able to send this off to someone and just say, okay, take some time and play it. Without us needing to be there. The game should be able to communicate itself to somebody. We still have some work to do on this with some of the tutorializing and, making some of those steps a little bit more clear. But I just couldn't be happier with the way that it all came together, and listening to everybody today and the feedback. It's been just incredibly validating to know that it seems like we've accomplished that. And what an amazing thing, this is a turning point for sure for us in terms of seeing everything that we've worked for come together in a holistic experience, and knowing that what we're reaching for is resonating. And now it's just, let's make the whole game that way, and we're ready to roll.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just to dovetail on what you said there, and you're sort of deflecting credit to the team, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of creative choices that you have to make, I'm sure, and everything beyond the mechanics and the nuts and bolts of it. Creative choice is a real thing, and in your sort of how you see this game and what your choices you're making from a creative standpoint, they're resonating. They're coming through, and I think the community really responds to that. So thank you for that.
That's awesome. It's awesome to hear.
So, Joppa, you want to take some questions from the chat here? They're starting to fire them in. That way they can actually get to chat with you. So
I didn't want to take up too much time, but I'd love to hear a few questions and chat a little bit. Yeah,
and if you can't answer them, we understand. Everybody here just know, I'm sure Joppa will be more than happy to answer what he can. So
okay, so I've copied a couple so far, so I can give you one. Somebody asked if you can say, what the next sort of class coming down the pipeline might be in terms of showcasing. I know that it's a slow process, but anything on that front?
It's most likely going to be the monk. You were noticing the monk animations, and we have. It's really important for class play and that everything that supports the visual feedback of that class is present. And for most classes, like the melee, more traditional melee classes, the casting classes, a lot of that's there. But when you think about the monk and you think about the ranger, both of those classes specifically require a pretty significant and unique animation suite to sell all the different and unique things that they do. The monk has his finished, and so the monk is ready, and the monk and the ranger both provide very unique forms of gameplay, both visually and just the functionality of the gameplay. So the monk is going to be a great one to get online. And then the next big animation push we're making is to finish off all of our ranged combat animations, which will be what obviously supports the ranger. And then as soon as those are done, the ranger will be ready to roll.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think you just made a lot of people happy with that answer. That is fantastic, including me as a future ranger.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I can't wait. I love playing range classes, so I'm really excited about it too.
It's music to my ears. Yeah, I have to say those monk animations, they looked so good, in terms of the training room there, and I noticed it right away. So
yeah,
whatever you're doing with those, doing a great job with those.
Yeah, Ross has been doing a really great job, and it's a general point to make too that we're still at a stage in development where we're I'm more interested in having more animations that might have some rough edges than I am going really, really super deep on animation polish. But there is a lot of polish to be done with animations, both in polishing up the animation themselves, but then also, dialing in transitions and blending and things like that. So you can just continue to expect to see improvements in that area.
That's great. Okay, I got another question from chat. Somebody wanted to know this specific, will you be doing a run through this demo in a future stream, like maybe with just you and some other devs, or with anybody? Are we going to see this this sort of environment again?
Yeah. I definitely think we should. There's a lot more in here. I think Co probably touched about 30%, 40% maybe at most of all the stuff in here to see and to do. So I think there's a lot more that can be shown. There's a lot of there's also different class perspectives to show it from. So I absolutely think we'll be seeing more of this, and it also showcases. We're used to like, excuse me, in games you'll see wow, they use this cave system or this cave prefab like in multiple places. World of Warcraft, for example, they've got the same 3, 4, 5 caves that they use in all kinds of various places. You can recolor them, reskin them. This is a perfect example of taking a lot of the aspects of Halnir Cave that we've seen before, but you do a little bit of reorienting, and you do a recoloring and a different lighting, and obviously it's a whole different setting. But it's also an example of a smart thing to do when you're making a game as large as an MMO, to repurpose assets, not in just a drag and drop where it's literally exactly the same, but there's a lot of mileage we can get out of these cave assets. So for that reason too, seeing more of this, this is it's a good thing to have, because it allows us to build a lot of different content areas in a lot of different zones that can take on the look and the feel and the context of those areas, with much less development effort than creating entirely new kits and packs of environmental assets. So it's a good balance. It's striking that balance between how can you reuse content, reuse visual content, reuse certain assets in smart ways that make them feel truly different, and then that balanced with the true unique assets and things that more one-off bespoke pieces that you need to create those real POIs and those lasting impactful places that are nowhere else.
Right. And actually, there was another question that's sort of related to that, because they're asking, just because we've seen so much gray box stuff in the recent streams, in terms of turning that gray boxed environment into something like this, like how much work is that? Like, what is the sort of workload involved in doing something like that?
A lot of it depends on if we're talking about gray box terrain, for example. Houdini, the more and more our Houdini pipeline improves and fills out, the faster and faster and faster it's going to become to take a gray boxed overland environment, terrain, rocks, trees, things like that, and flip that into its final form. That will become more and more rapid. That's different from taking a gray boxed like a dungeon, or something like with the Hangor assets, the orc assets we saw earlier, where we had the gray boxed tusk and the gray boxed huts. Those take a little bit longer because you're not procedurally creating those through something like Houdini. With Houdini, you're taking finished terrain textures, terrain materials, finished rocks, finished trees that have already been modeled and textured, and then you're kind of working those things into Houdini to kind of take in all the different parameters and build places based on the gray boxing forms that we've put in place. And then that's only about 50%, because then you come in after that and you do all of your hand placed designer, specific locations, and you're tweaking the location of different trees and rocks to really dial it in and make it exactly what it needs to be. Whereas with traditional modeling and texturing, like, turning this keep from gray box into this takes a little bit more time, but that's why you have, you ultimately build up an art team that is doing both concurrently.
Right.
Great. Jump in and there was another question from Walking Waste, and not so much because he asked the question, what is your favorite part of the evaluation build? How about more so, what was your favorite moment that kind of got unveiled today? Like, as you were experiencing it, like, what was there a moment where you kind of smiled, where something kind of happened?
I'll tell you, there are a lot of moments that I wished something had happened, because there were so many little things that it's not the same if you jump in and like, hey, even with the stealth, overhearing the stealth conversation, which was one of my favorite moments. I was talking to the team, and prepping for this. Like, it's one of the things I was most excited about, because little things like that show these little flashes of revelation on how deep things really go. And I think that's one of the important things with Pantheon, is that we're so used to these games being polished and being pretty, and having kind of the standard things we expect. And I think it's when it hits that, there's like 2 and 3 layers of depth below the surface that I can dig into at any time. I can access at any time as I'm occupying this world and playing this game. If I just today feel like I just want to go off and like purely immerse myself into finding everything I can out about where I am and what's going on, like, there's always, I think of it as being on a highway where there's just all these off ramps and on ramps into anything and everything you can imagine. And the more that we can build in, that's what we're going for. So that was a big piece today, is just seeing his joy in realizing, like, oh my goodness, like, there's so much here to dig into. I think, the moments where he overheard the stealth conversation, the moment with, putting on the artifact, the way climbing kind of reintroduced itself a few times, is like, oh yeah, I forgot I can even do that. And a lot of the ways that I feel like he was able to intuitively kind of, you guys were talking about this earlier a little bit, where, I think if it wasn't in a stream environment and you really played it from the very beginning, this specific experience, it does really kind of lend itself to helping you intuit what you could do what you might want to try to do. So for example, the question was asked earlier, like, I wonder if I snuck into that storeroom, if I could actually pick up that food. The answer is yes, you could. And that would have, its own set of implications and effects if you did that. And the same way with overhearing the conversations. And as soon as you do that one time, it all of a sudden checks a box in your brain of like, I wonder where else I can do that, or how else I might be able to utilize that. And that's kind of what we're going for, is that domino effect of you something is substantiated, and then all of a sudden the implications explode of how you could use that. So that was validated today quite a bit as well.
Someone wants to know
That's
if you
great.
used any dev commands to get through that boss.
I didn't. I have a feeling, I don't know if Ben used a command or if he was maybe had a wrong weapon equipped, but I noticed that the boss went from like full health to almost like 50% health in the first few seconds. And then I think, he realized what was going on and changed it, I guess. But that was not planned and not intended.
Honestly, I think it worked out for the best because, you didn't need a 20-minute fight there. I mean, maybe that might have been the best case scenario. Who knows?
I will give you a heads up. You pulled out, I said it to Theric, pretty clutch heal. When you got Black Hold, you were pretty close to dead and you were getting hit. And I was like, I don't know if that cast's getting up.
Nothing's nasty. Yeah.
The animation on that was really cool. The effect on that black hole, whatever it was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we were actually tuning the visuals on that as early as last night. Kyle and I were in there, and he did some amazing stuff, just pulling off some programming magic to really get a lot of that. And you do tend to do that with boss fights because you want to really, just kind of frame it all a little bit more clearly. And there's still some cleanup to do with that fight, but that I'm really proud of the way that fight came out. Convo did a lot to help with the kind of the ideas for those abilities and how they would affect the player. And we came up with the Blossom ability, which was a new one and that's why when she went to 50% health, at 50% health, that's when she does that ability. She summons a random person to the eye in the center of the room, roots them, and then builds up this massive like blast that she fires off, and there's like a camera shake, and it's like this huge like boom, and that was really satisfying to see. But then to be able to finish the fight, loot the target, realize that it was. I'm hoping it was validating for a lot of people who have supported, followed, had faith in which isn't something we take for granted. Faith is hard. But when the things that we talk about, and that's why the guest that came on talking about crafting was really encouraging, because Convo and Neth both very recently multiple times have come out and said this is kind of what we're doing with crafting. And then boom, like you see it happening. And then the fact that you could have taken those ingredients back and followed kind of some of the clues and whatnot to craft a really, really cool weapon that we're not going to spoil, but that is the crafting and the harvesting sphere living alongside and in harmony with the adventuring sphere in a way that it is truly coming together. So there's so much. I think as I sleep a little bit more and kind of get more mentally back in place and reflect and just have time to think, I think what this stream has accomplished and what we have coming online in our gameplay and the game's development is it's just very, very significant.
That's great. Now I don't want to take up all your time today, but there's one more question we have to ask, because the chat is very much asking about it. Is about PvP. They just sort of want to know sort of the plans are still to have PvP on a separate server, down the road, closer to launch, obviously. But has anything, changed in that regard, I guess?
Yeah, nothing's changed. I know Minus has said some strong things of late about his thoughts on that.
Me? No, I don't.
Never.
And they're good. They're good, thought-provoking points. But yeah, at this point, nothing's changed about the the plans there for the PvP server. I still contend that PvP, there's the esports kind of model towards PvP balance, PvP, design, and that's a very legitimate path. That's not our path. We're not interested in esports. Not to say that we're not interested in something like esports, because then that can take lots of different forms. But I guess that bleeding edge competitive esport where balance and surgical balance is like the prime directive. But I'm much more interested and intrigued by, again, taking this very well-developed, immersive, multi-layered world and figuring out ways that PvP, if beyond just turning PvP on a server, but thinking of ways that PvP could occur in a world like that, where it's less about meters and esports and whatever, and more about like true open world alliances, skirmishes, having mini game type content that looks more like the Hunger Games instead of capture the flag. Just ways that it can just be a more immersive experience with less emphasis on surgical balance.
Right. Awesome.
I know he said last question. The only other one I had, just because of your love and passion for sound and audio, do you still have a big hand? Because obviously Ko made a big point to bring that up and turned his volume up so we could hear that ambience. Do you still have a really big hand in the audio side of this? Because I know that was your passion coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's still me until we are able to hire somebody to come on and take the reins. And because it's me, it's still minimal. Like it's not anywhere near what we want ultimately to have and all the different things we want. And a lot of the polish of the blending and the different, but yeah, it's definitely still a passion of mine, and it makes all the difference. Even a little bit of audio in there when it's right makes all the difference.
It really does. Totally.
Well, you just showed at minimum of 14,000 people an awesome Pantheon experience. So you guys should be really proud of that. And again, thank you for coming on here and talking to the community, answering their questions. And, just to reiterate Joppa's point there, I think it's important we say thank you to everybody at VR for the hard work they do. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I could sit here and name a bunch of names, but I know I'll forget somebody by accident. So it just goes out to everybody for the hard work they've put out there. It is truly a team experience. Every single person, pulls more than their weight, I guess I would say.
Absolutely.
So great job. Great job on the showing today. Yeah. That's a great work. Congratulations. You guys knocked it out of the park today. And at a time where I think you've all committed a lot to transparency and wanting to do more and show more. And, Ben's come out and really taken a big hand in communicating more. I think that this is a great culmination of that. So great job and congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, right on. Thank you all. Thanks, Pantheon Plus. Thanks, Minus Derek. Thanks to all of you guys in the community for the encouragement, the support, the excitement. And we're carrying on. We gonna get a little bit of rest today, and we're right back in and couldn't be more happy about it. So we'll be catching with you guys soon, onward and upward, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks,
and Joppa, we'll wait
Yep.
I'll let Nathan and Basgrim know we'll be waiting for that invite. So I appreciate that too. Just kidding. All right. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Great show today. Thanks for sticking around longer with us, Derek. Amazing day today. We had the rewind. We had a 2-hour stream. We did a 2-hour stream. I mean, talk about Pantheon, right? If no one's sick of us yet, we're in a good spot. So,
you know what, man? Even if my Bears lose this afternoon, I don't care. I've had a great day. It doesn't matter what happens.
Let's cap it off. This is too good of a day. Let's cap it off with a Bears win. Even if you're not a Bears fan, let's Bears for Theric. That's the trend. Let's trend that on Twitter. Bears for Theric.
Absolutely.
Thank you to everybody who came in the green room. You guys are amazing. You guys make this show possible. And without you coming on the show and talking and being in the chat, and we've had over 100 people for this show all day, then we don't get great moments like Joppa asking to come in. He doesn't come in because of me and Theric. He comes in because the community's here to support it, and he wants to say thank you to you guys. So awesome stuff. Thank you, everybody. Great show. You'll probably see content over the next few weeks from us, I'm sure. With all the different stuff we've put in here and maybe some articles about it. But You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you to VR. Thank you to the community. Onward and upward indeed. Derek, thanks for another great day.
Another great one, man. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you next time.
Pantheon Plus.